Breaking now, a shooting in Seattle's core.
I was like just walking down the street, and all of a sudden I hear pop, pop, pop.
One person killed, 7 injured when bullets went flying downtown.
I looked up the street in panic. Everybody was running and hiding.
Tonight, the chaos that sent our crew running from one shooting to another.
I was like, oh my God, and everything just stopped.
And the human toll as police search for those responsible.
Now, Cairo 7 crews have been on this story since the shots were fired at 3rd and Pine at 5 o'clock tonight.
And we begin with our Michael Spears, who found himself running from one shooting to another. Michael, it's been busy and troubling today.
We were several blocks away reporting on an unrelated shooting when we heard that gunfire and ran here to 3rd and Pine. This is where several victims were down, and scene has since cleared. In the last 10 minutes, police took off, but you can see the aftermath a bit. Appears to be a bullet hole in the McDonald's. That was just a couple of the victims. Across the street here, we came across 2 other people down on the ground. Seattle police tell us tonight that surveillance video, and we can see a camera up on the building here, was key in determining that there were multiple shooters, and tonight those shooters still on the run. We took off running down 3rd Avenue when we heard the gunfire. That echoed through Seattle's core around 5 p.m., and this is what we found as we reached 3rd and Pine. A man with a gunshot wound to his leg getting help, and another apparent gunshot victim inside a coffee shop at Macy's. Then we saw more gunshot victims on the ground right outside of McDonald's. First responders and apparent Good Samaritans working to save their lives.
I was right here. I was about 10 feet away from going down into the light rail, and I heard a pop, 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 and then about a dozen shots. And I just saw people jumping behind cars and jumping behind anywhere they could to hide.
We counted dozens of evidence markers laid out in one of the busiest parts of Seattle during one of the busiest times of day, and watched as victims were put on stretchers. Seattle firefighters say 5 gunshot victims were transported to the hospital from here.
Suddenly it was just chaos.
Looking north up 3rd Avenue, we could see a wheelchair in the crime scene close to where police say one of the 8 shooting victims lost her life.
This is not an active shooting at this point.
Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best said this was not a random shooting, and there was more than one shooter.
There was a dispute that happened in front of the McDonald's. People pulled out guns, shots rang out. People ran in various directions.
Investigators say this shooting is not connected to the officer-involved shooting we were covering several blocks away when we heard the gunfire.
I'm really sad for the people that were injured, and I wish I would have been more prepared.
Now behind us here you can see McDonald's putting up boards. You can hear them cutting boards. Window apparently shattered in this shooting, so that work continues here. Police stress this was not a random shooting based on the evidence that they have so far at this point. They do still, however, want video. They want to hear from witnesses and are reminding folks that they can do so anonymously. As far as 3rd Avenue, police were working to get this reopened before the morning AM commute, and as you can see, 3rd Avenue here is now reopened just in time for that commute. For now, we're live in downtown Seattle. I'm Michael Spears, Cairo 7 News.
All right, Michael, officials tell us the woman killed in the shooting was between 40 and 50 years old, and within the last hour, we have learned only 3 victims are still in the hospital tonight. The most badly injured patient was a 55-year-old woman. She remains in critical condition, and the youngest victim, a 9-year-old boy, has been upgraded from serious to satisfactory. One man is also listed as satisfactory, while 4 others have been treated and discharged. 5 o'clock is a busy time, of course, for downtown Seattle, meaning a number of people found themselves running for cover this evening. Cairo 7's Amy Clancy is live downtown. You've talked to several people tonight, Amy, who were just too close for comfort.
That's right. As we were running to the scene to cover what had happened, we ran into people who were rushing out. They were afraid and they were trying to get out.
And all of a sudden, I hear pop, pop, pop. People started screaming and running. They're throwing themselves down on the street.
Witnesses to the shootings and the aftermath told Cairo 7 what it was like to be downtown when violence suddenly erupted.
We saw a dead body, and then we saw a gunshot in the window, and I was just like, whoa. And she had just left the McDonald's to come and bring us food. So, like, it's crazy because it could have been, like, her.
I heard, bow, 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 bow. I knew it wasn't fireworks, and then I started screaming.
Shortly after the shootings, the Seattle Police Department sent automatic alerts.
A shooting scene with multiple victims.
Warning people to stay out of downtown near 3rd and Pine.
After it happened, they locked down all the buildings right over here.
Shay Dukes works in the office tower above the McDonald's where the shots rang out.
The building's on lockdown, and then we saw all the police officers, we heard all the sirens and everything, and then I looked out the window and saw people on stretchers. So that was kind of scary to see all this happening on like a Wednesday night. It's like, what else can go on?
I'm just sick of all of this. I'm sick of all this violence. Oh, yeah, 'cause all of this violence.
That frustration and fear was echoed
just walking up here, and people were running everywhere.
By many.
Just panic, scared because the shooter is not found, and it could have been one of us.
Now, this evening, the Seattle Police Department tweeted out a request for any and all video that might have shown those shootings. Now, take a look. This is one of the surveillance cameras that's right across the street. This is on the Macy's building. As you can see, it is right across the street from where that shooting happened. And from some of the things that Carmen Best talked about in her press conferences this evening, she did mention that it sounds as if officers and detectives have already seen some of that surveillance video. So we're hoping that we can get images as soon as possible so that we can share them with the public. So hopefully the suspects, and she did say potentially multiple shooters, can soon be apprehended. For now, reporting live in Seattle, Amy Clancy, Cairo 7 News.
Well, another witness got off a Metro bus just moments after the shooting, and he walked us through what he saw as all that chaos unfolded in front of him.
I had read about the shooting that happened on 3rd and Blanchard and was headed home from work down in the International District. And there was a lot of traffic because of the shooting. And so the bus driver, when we approached 3rd and Union, let us know that if it was easier for us to walk, it would be a good idea because there had something been going on. And as such, so we got out of the bus, and as soon as we got out of the bus in front of the Ross, there were people running towards us, like in a panic, and they were very scared. And immediately, the police officer that works at the Ross store came out and ran towards the scene. And so I followed him and got up to the point, and he was the first responder. Being the first responder, he responded to the person closest to him and then responded to a person that was right in front of the door of the McDonald's. And then another officer that worked at a store nearby showed up and provided additional assistance. From there, I moved north to the Macy's, and there was a gentleman in his 30s that had been shot on his left buttock, and there was blood on the scene. And then immediately north of that, in the Amazon Cafe, we saw a person sitting down and asked them, are you okay? And they showed us that they had a wound in the back of their legs, but it wasn't bleeding. It looked like just like a small wound, and that's when the police officers started showing up. And so we pointed at them. There's one here, and then there's the person laying down outside of Macy's. The person outside of Macy's was given aid by a person in plain clothes. They look like a medical person, because the police officer that provided, that showed up to the scene, let the plainclothes person continue to provide aid while they coached the person through the scene, saying like, you're going to be okay, this is what's going to happen, but they let the plainclothes person provide aid. I moved down back to the people that were shot outside of the McDonald's. They were still providing aid as far as police officers. Police officers were showing up now to the scene, and then the EMTs showed up. The EMTs immediately pointed at the person out sitting, being outside of the McDonald's, because they were already being provided CPR. They were getting chest compressions already. And the EMT providers provided CPR for a short amount of time, and then they moved towards the 9-year-old boy who was on the corner closer towards the street, like underneath the street sign. And then they started providing CPR to them. We moved north to make sure that the other person was getting aid, and that's when all the police officers showed up and started roping things off.
Right in the middle of downtown, right in the middle of rush hour. Seattle police want witnesses who saw anything to give them a call. This is their tip line right here, 206-233-5000. Now to Harborview Medical Center, where 7 people with gunshot wounds were all raced into the trauma center at the same time. And there is some good news to report about several of those victims.
Cairo 7's Gary Horker has been at Harborview throughout the night. Gary, some of those gunshot victims were already cleared to go home.
Right. Very good news, because we understand 4 of the 7 victims who came into here earlier in a quick chain of succession with gunshot wounds were able to be released and go home. All of those 4, we're told, are men between the ages of 21 to 49. That 9-year-old little boy who was shot in the upper right leg, we understand he is doing better. He has been upgraded to satisfactory from serious condition. And the woman who was shot in the abdomen is still in critical condition tonight, but we're told she is in guarded condition, out of surgery. As 7 victims arrived into Harborview only minutes apart, surgeons faced a wide variety of bullet wounds.
We have injuries of the body from the leg, buttocks, chest, abdomen.
Because all the patients were conscious, Seattle police were here as well, hoping to piece together what they and witnesses saw as shots were fired their way. Susan Gregg with Harborview suggested many of the injuries could have been far worse.
Luckily, most of them are satisfactory and are going to be okay. We do have one female that's critical, is in surgery right now, and the others, we have a young man who is serious, and then the rest of the males that have arrived are satisfactory.
She says even though so many patients arrived here at once in a triage situation, Harborview never needed to call in extra support.
So this is our business, and this is what we excel at. And the staff assemble, they get ready. With gunshot wounds, you're usually, if it's critical injuries, you're usually, heading down into surgery. So it's something that we're prepared for all the time, and this was no different tonight.
As an aside, one of the witnesses of the shooting who saw the 9-year-old boy kind of writhing on the ground and came up here apparently to see how he was doing, did not want to be identified at all, very rattled by what he saw, but he said one of the shooters, he said, appeared to be running away, shooting over his shoulder indiscriminately as he ran. One of many people that SPD is looking for tonight. And to recap from Harborview Medical Center, there is upgrades at almost every turn that you look. Only 3 of the 7 gunshot wounds victims here are still being treated for their injuries, and we'll keep you posted on the very latest. Live, meanwhile, from Harborview Medical Center, I'm Gary Corker, Cairo 7 News.
We are wishing the best for them tonight. Thank you, Gary. Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan is reacting to the shooting tonight, saying no one should face such violence, and it impacts all of us when it occurs in the heart of our city. I extend my support and that of our city to the victims and their families. Now, today's shooting comes one day after a man was shot and killed inside Westlake Mall downtown. That scene just steps away from this one. Last evening, police found a man in his 50s inside a stairwell with a gunshot wound. They put the mall on lockdown and they shut down monorail service, but that shooter got away.
The continued violence downtown has a number of people we talked to tonight frustrated, and that includes the Downtown Seattle Association. A statement from DSA tonight said, in part, we call on public officials to devote the resources necessary to improve safety in downtown and take back 3rd Avenue from the criminals who have laid claim to it. On behalf of residents, small business owners, employers, and visitors, we say enough is enough.